Hi everybody, the summertime heat and most importantly the humidity is here, so I'm going to talk about my favorite plants this time of the year for growth. Bananas. Now unfortunately I had some of my favorite banana plants die last year, so I want to talk about what I did wrong when I overwintered banana plants and how I got these to not only survive the absolutely horrible conditions last year in my garage, but also to get so big in the first place. So let me spin the camera around. First I want to step all the way back and show you one of the most cold tolerant bananas in the world. Musa Sikkimensis. I'm going to show you Musa Basjoo in a few. That's the only one that will reliably survive the winter here. But Musa Sikkimensis is advertised as a very cold hardy banana. And it is there's only one other banana that survived the winter in my very cold garage this year. I lost all of my tropical bananas in the garage, but the Musa Sikkimensis banana had no problems at all. However, I have kept my Musa Sikkimensis banana outside in frost, very hard frost in the past, and it has died to the ground. So this is not as cold hardy as a Musa Basjoo banana, but it is very cool hardy. And I think that's why you see this with so much hype, especially in countries like the UK, cooler spots in the United States that just don't get as much heat in the summer. Last year I had my Musa Sikkimensis in the shade by the pond, and it grew a lot of new leaves. So it's very, very cool tolerant. However, it prefers the heat. This is the hottest part of my backyard. It gets boiling hot all summer long on this south-facing exposure with very little wind, and this banana has thrived. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. It's growing a leaf a week. And if you notice, there are a couple of really cool characteristics about this banana plant. First, let me get underneath it. So what I love about this Musa Sikkimensis banana is that it has very upright leaves. The leaves are actually deep red when they are young. They have these nice red splotches all over the leaves, kind of like a blood banana, but it loses that red splotching as it gets older. This is supposed to be Musa Sikkimensis Bengal Tiger, which is supposed to keep the red stripes, but as you can see, there is not a single red stripe on it, so don't get Musa Sikkimensis for the red markings in the leaves. They are beautiful when they're younger, but those red markings disappear as the plant ages. If you want markings on the leaves, why don't you look at this one right below my Musa Sikkimensis. This is my Musa Ae Ae banana. This is a very tropical banana plant that I put in the ground for the first time ever this year. I'm a little nervous about it, but I just wanted to see if I could get some growth because I've had this now since I believe it was 2023, October 2023 I got it, deeply discounted, and it was the only way I could ever afford it because it's an expensive banana plant. What I love about it, of course, are the white markings, but it also is not very tolerant to sun, so we do see some damage on this leaf, and then look, every white marking on this leaf has damage, but usually that resolves in the month of July. So this new leaf coming up looks really great. I think every new leaf going forward is going to look really nice for the rest of the season. And it actually does okay inside the house. I just keep it underneath a grow light inside the house. It's not super warm. It grows about like 2 leaves across the entire span of the winter inside the house, and during the summertime it grows about a new leaf every 2 weeks. So big difference. What I like about this little combination is that once it gets a few of these leaves, you need to use your imagination a little bit, but it's going to look really pretty with the dark elephant ears. I also have some texture from my papyrus plant. This is a black and blue salvia that survived the winter. I have some cannas with dark leaves and pink flowers. So when all of this comes together, it's going to look really nice. All right, so let me talk about the banana plants I lost because it's tragic. I lost my what I believe was an ice cream banana. That was in the spot that my Sikkimensis is now, and it was huge. The whole entire plant rotted in the garage, and it was a very slow and very painful death. I have kept it in my garage for years without any problems, but this winter we had some really prolonged cold. It never got below freezing in my garage, but the plant died anyway. So I don't recommend putting the tropical plants in cold weather storage all winter long. I really think the tropical banana plants you ideally want to keep 50 degrees or above. But it's really just, it's a weird thing because you don't want them to grow inside the house during the winter because banana plants need a lot of heat and a lot of humidity to thrive. Otherwise, they're very prone to pests and they're not going to grow properly. Banana plants are really cool because you could just dig them up. You don't really need any roots. So that's what makes it so easy to overwinter in the first place. Like when I dig up this Musa Sikkimensis, it's not going to have any roots attached to it. But unfortunately, it's definitely a game of cat and mouse where you want it to be warm enough where it's not going to rot and die during the winter, and cold enough where it's not going to actively grow during the winter time. So just a little heads up on what happened to my ice cream banana and Veinte Cohol banana. Veinte Cohol is the fastest fruiting banana in the world. It was sitting right here last year. This year, I'm growing Musa Velutina instead. This is also a very fast fruiting banana. It's also known as the pink banana. It doesn't look too special right now. It was really tiny when I got it. So I want to show you what it looked like when I got it. And now you can see it's growing pretty quickly, about a new leaf every week. It's one of my fastest growing bananas right now. And what I love about it is that it's very, very ornamental. The flowers are very ornamental and it will bloom next year. As long as I overwinter it properly, it'll bloom next year. Some people have gotten Musa Velutina to actually survive zone 7 winters with just a little bit of mulch. So it is a hardy banana, but I will probably overwinter in my garage and I don't think I'm gonna have any problems. So Sikkimensis has proven to do very well in cold storage in my garage, but tropical bananas like AA I keep inside the house. Another tropical banana I keep inside the house is Musa Siam Ruby. I'll show you that one in a minute, but I feel like I'm on a good track right now with the cold hardy bananas. So let me show you another cold hardy banana that's really easy to grow. It is right in front of me. It's still a baby. This is a Mekong giant, and I have actually gotten this to survive the winter at my parents' house in Staten Island. That was before my fig tree took it over and it didn't come back. It's surprisingly really shade tolerant. When I was growing it at my parents' house, it was growing in almost full shade. It was not a very special location as far as, you know, proper sitting from cold. It wasn't mulched at all. Mekong giant doesn't really look super special when young. What I love about it though, what makes it different than Musa Basjoo is that firstly, it doesn't have the pink stem like vein. So there's usually a pink little vein right down the middle on Musa Basjoo, and I'll show you that in a minute, mostly when young. But what's really cool about the Mekong giant is that it has a lot of shade tolerance, and it actually pups really far away. It makes its babies far away from the mother plant. So it's a very vigorous banana, and it just seems to grow faster, honestly, than Musa Basjoo bananas do. So I'm pretty excited about this one. It's growing a little bit faster than Velutina right now, which I think has been growing really quickly. So good stuff so far from 2 out of the hardier bananas. I'm also experimenting with Ensete gilletii, I believe is how we say it. Let me see if I have the tag. Looks like it's right here. So this is from Brian's Botanicals. Apparently they got these seeds a couple of years ago and they just started selling this plant. Ensete bananas are from Africa. I believe the whole entire genus is from Africa. So they're very weird bananas because they're capable of surviving drought. They have very thick stems and they don't really produce bananas. So maybe in the future they'll just classify it as a totally different type of plant than a banana plant, because there isn't really a lot that, in my opinion, classifies it as a banana. But it's a really cool plant. And this one's not growing too quickly, so I got this at about the same size as the Mekong giant and the Velutina, and you can see it is much, much smaller. I'm keeping it in a container, and we'll see how it does. But Ensete bananas are very, very, very cold tolerant, and I want to show you one of my favorites in the front yard. Next to Cavendish bananas, I believe that this is by far the most popular banana plant to see for sale up here in New York. And it's really one of my personal favorites in New York because it is very cool weather tolerant. It actually starts producing leaves inside the garage in the month of March before it even goes outside. I mean, it's like maybe 50 degrees in my garage in the month of March. And so it's growing leaves in cooler cooler weather, whereas most banana plants need significant heat to start growing. I do have an issue with it. This is, by the way, I haven't even mentioned the name yet, Ensete Maurelii, also known as an Abyssinian red banana. Look at the coloration on these leaves. When it's cold outside and it's just starting to leaf out for the summer, the leaves are deep, deep red, and then they become kind of more of this greenish red. It's a really beautiful red vein in the middle of like a off green with these little blushes of red. It's just a beautiful, beautiful plant. When it's first starting to leaf out, the reason why the leaves are probably deep red is because it's protecting itself from sun damage. Sometimes plants develop a red. You even see this with some of our trees. Sometimes they turn kind of red at first to protect them from the strong sun. So a very fun plant to grow. As I mentioned, there's a little bit of kind of damaged green on this for some reason this summer. I never get those damaged spots. I don't know why this year I'm getting that, but I've had this now for a long time. I got it on sale in 2022, so that was almost 3 years ago now, and it was like almost for free. What I love about this plant is that big fat trunk. Like I said, Ensete bananas are kind of different than most bananas. They do not have a skinny trunk. It makes it very resistant to wind. At least the plant itself is resistant to wind, and very resistant to cold. In South Carolina, I didn't dig it up and it did fine. It's a pretty good zone, maybe 8B banana plant. Doesn't really love heat. I never saw them in Florida. Maybe some people are growing them in Florida, but I never saw one. It really seems to prefer kind of more of a temperate climate where you do get a cooler spring and a cooler fall. I find that it really doesn't stop growing right up till the very end, and I put it in the garage and it's totally fine. Right next to it is another very cold tolerant banana. This is a Musella Lasiocarpa. I grew this in South Carolina. It had no leaves on it when I bought it. Now it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves coming up. So really hardy banana. This is also maybe not a banana plant because it doesn't produce bananas either. So just like the Ensete bananas, it's not exactly your typical banana plant. I'm going to show you a picture of what mine looked like when it was in bloom when I was in South Carolina. This is not the same exact plant that you're seeing here. This is a baby that I just got, but that plant that I had many years ago was a Musella Lasiocarpa, and it just wowed me with those blooms. The blooms lasted all winter long in South Carolina, and what was interesting is that the leaves would die in the frost, but the blooms would not. I've never had a plant like Musella Lasiocarpa. It's like a torch. This was in South Carolina, where the leaves would fade because of a frost and they would die, but the stem could survive the frost. On warm winter weeks, you would get this beautiful yellowing of the flower, and it would look like a torch. It was amazing. And then if it got cold again, the flower would kind of fade, but then more bracts would keep reappearing every time the weather warmed up. So that was my experience growing it in the south, and now I have a little seedling here, and I'm hoping one day I'll get some flowers from this too. But otherwise, it's just a really beautiful banana plant, if you want to call it a banana plant. Like I said, it does not produce bananas. This one, I believe, does produce bananas. It is a blood banana, a Musa zebrina. I actually know it produces bananas. I just don't know what the fruit quality of it's like. But you grow this one for the leaves. I think a lot of people wish that Musa Sikkimensis, which I showed you in the backyard, had leaves like this, but it doesn't. This one will keep its red leaves all year. Well, you know, until frost comes. I had this last year and it died in the garage. So this year it's going to go in the house during the winter time. I'm not going to play games with this. It has a very thin trunk, and I do feel like thin trunks tend to be a habit for the more tropical banana plants. And it's not a trunk, by the way. It's a pseudostem. Bananas are not woody plants, so they do not have trunks. They have pseudostems. And that's an important distinction because you can actually cut this right to the ground and it's just going to pop right back. That happens really for any banana plants I've ever grown. If you cut it right to the ground, it's just going to grow right back. All right, we're going to go to the end of my front yard and show you my Musa Basjoo banana. This is the one that everybody is talking about here on Long Island. You'll find them at most nurseries, and you know, it's been around for many years. But this, also known as a Japanese fiber banana, is the only banana that I will recommend people grow here and expect it to be a true perennial. This is an absolutely gorgeous perennial plant in my climate, and you notice, like I said, there's that pink kind of veining that differentiates it from the Mekong giant. It also kind of has, maybe not at this point in the season, but earlier in the year, maybe one of the younger pups have it, but they do have kind of a reddish tint to the underside of the leaves. It's grown from the ground up. I don't mulch mine. Some people mulch theirs. I don't. I just let it do its thing. If it's going to survive, it's going to survive. And right now it's getting pretty tall. It's already up to my shoulder. It's about 5 feet tall, give or take. And it's got a little ways to go. And I'm really excited to see how big it gets this year. It's got more pups than ever. I find with the Musa Basjoo bananas that they do take a couple of years to start really looking nice, and if you have a little baby plant, it might not survive the winter. It's all about the roots. The roots of a Musa Basjoo are very important because that's what's going to get it through the winter time. So you need a clump. You need to have a plant with some pups. You need some babies, or else it's probably not going to survive the winter. A single stem plant, you know, one that's that young that it hasn't produced babies yet, is not going to survive the winter. You can, you know, cut all the babies out if you want and have a single stem. That's a personal preference, but it has to be old enough to at least produce babies, or else it won't survive. Also, speaking of old enough, look at these tomatoes. We got lots of tomato plants coming. This is all in my front yard. It smells so good. I don't even know what flower is making it smell this good out here, but I love it. I'm putting my front yard to work. We've got some zucchini that I'm gonna eat this week, and I'm so excited because that is my Palermo zucchini, which is a white zucchini, and it's got a really nice nutty flavor to it. So anyway, we want to show you one more banana plant in the backyard before we call it a day, and it's my favorite. All right, we're walking into the backyard. Very few people are growing this last banana plant, although it's starting to become a little bit more popular. We need to watch out for the yellow jacket nest that is inside my old man palm, by the way. I'm going to get rid of that in a few days. Let's see, are there any yellow jackets coming out? No. Looks like they're all out to lunch. Anyway, this is the banana plant I was talking about. It is a Musa Siam ruby. I've got to do a little bit of cleaning on this. You see some of the older leaves are kind of a little torn, but this is a really special banana plant. Look at how deep red these new leaves are, and they have these little green specks in it. It's like somebody took a paintbrush of like greens and yellows and just painted the leaves. But that deep Siam ruby-like color, you can see why it gets its name. It's really like a ruby. It's very red. And I absolutely adore this plant. Now, what are some of the issues with it? Oh, and by the way, look at all the babies. So it's a very vigorous pupper. Makes lots of babies. The babies look kind of like this. It's very unusual. It requires a lot of heat, this plant, to grow, but I find that it really isn't that hard to overwinter. I was very nervous because there's like nothing online about how to overwinter a Siam ruby banana, but I just put it under a grow light, no extra heat during the winter time, and it grew fine. It had no problems inside the house during the winter this year. Last winter, I brought it out after a very long winter, and all of the stems collapsed because they were so thin. This one started to collapse, and then I got a stake and I tied it, and it really did the trick. But they all started to collapse last year, and I had to cut it to the ground, and then it came back beautifully. So it's a pretty resilient banana, but just needs a lot of heat to survive. So full sun, plenty of water, and that's all it takes to get it looking really great. But surprisingly, even though it needs a lot of heat during the summer, it was fine in my normal house conditions during the winter time. So that is Siam ruby. Definitely the reddest banana that I think will ever be in existence. I mean, really, it can't, I don't know a plant that physically is this red. I don't even have flowers that are this red, let alone a leaf that looks like this. I do need to do some cleaning on it, but I haven't really gotten a chance to yet because I do like to wait until things start to really leaf out before I do my cleaning on the banana plants. As you can see, I'm very big on color contrast, so I have some variegated hibiscus, I have my variegated Hedychium ginger, and it's all set behind my Canna musifolia, which survives the winter. And tucked in between, some of this fragrance that I'm smelling in my backyard is coming from this beautiful flower. This is my star jasmine, which stays green. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous jasmine that is well known in the South because of its fragrance, and it's kind of tucked away right now in between my Cannas and my clematis vine. But anyway, the smell is just out of this world, and this is just the start of July. You're gonna notice over the next few weeks, all of these beautiful big leaf plants like bananas are going to absolutely grow massive. A new leaf a week guaranteed on some of these, and these leaves are huge. They're taller than me, so this is the fastest growing plant that I have in my yard, and they're gonna look drastically different. So if you're not impressed by the way they look now, check back in a little bit later on, and you might be impressed by just how big they get by the end of the season. And I don't know how big they'll be by the end of the season, because every year is different, and that's what makes it so fun. Anyway, if you like this video, just make sure you check out some of my other ones too, and I would love to hear what your experience is growing these plants, or if you have any questions also, maybe some suggestions about some other plants that I should try in my yard. Bye everybody!